Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson and Chuck Schultz. Welcome to the 505 on Racing Show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Chuck, this all started with you many years ago, and you sit in the control room, you sit upstairs, you watch, and we were looking for a co-host. And we're sitting there one day, and you said, "Why not me?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm ex-race car driver, I guess.
Yeah.
Once you're a race car driver, you're always a race car driver, right?
And you're never a retired race car driver. You're just looking for another ride or the money.
Or something. Driving around with your old fire suit with the holes in the butt, waiting for somebody to drop dead so you can jump in the seat.
Freight at the bottom, from walking on it.
Exactly. Somebody flips the ride, and
we
need somebody to finish up the last 200 laps.
You got it,
And you already got your suit on, yeah.
I still bring my stuff.
I know. That's why I said that.
I still bring it. Yeah, Chuck's been around racing quite some time. And why don't you share with the folks, some of your racing, I guess,
experience?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I started racing back in the 80s. Early 80s, we started doing enduro racing, and we kind of got our feet wet with that a little bit, and then we moved up to the Charger series, and we raced Chargers pretty much most of the time at Riverhead, but we did pro stocks at Thompson, at Flemington. We had a little bit of success.
Right.
We had a nice size shop, as you remember.
Yeah.
Just talked about it. They knocked it down.
They knocked it down. I can't believe
Knocked it down, but we had a 6,000 square foot race car shop, and we did setups and things like that, and we helped some other people and whatnot, kind of get ahead, and of course most of my crew now, they're all down south, right?
Yeah.
They're all working for Winston Cup teams,
Winston Cup.
Or,
They don't
Spring
do that
Cup,
anymore.
whatever it is now.
I know you're new to
What is it now? Candy Cigarettes team or something? What's the PC
Monster
thing?
Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
Yeah, that's this week, right?
I just call it Cup.
Yeah, Cup, exactly.
Cup.
Yeah, so we had fun doing it,
did.
and that's really what it all boiled down to.
did.
We had a blast doing it, and I learned a lot. Really, it's amazing how much I learned. And I look back on all the things we talked about it last week, just some of the things that I look back on, and it's not even the racing stuff that I look back on. Oh, remember that big battle with some of those are there. You got the Turbishes they're going to come up somewhere.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's always, the people that you go to the racetrack with, what I mean? The people that are at the racetrack, they're family, you know what I mean? And, you know them all.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you, and it's like, whether they know you or not, they know you. I remember one time, and I think you might have been included in this, but, I'm there, it's me, it's the wife, it's maybe one other guy and his wife, and I get out of the car, and I was upset at somebody, and I'm walking down the pits, and next thing I know, I got 50 people following me. And it's not like they're following me because they're going to, they want to jump me or something.
Right.
They're following me because they cared enough about me to know that something was wrong, and they wanted to go as my backup.
Yeah.
You
Or
know
to
what I
see
mean?
the action.
Or see the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was. Oh, he's going to hit some. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
I didn't have a 2x4 or nothing. I wasn't walking around with the 4x4. But.
Nobody, what I tell people, that you get out of your car, or you'd still be in your car, be people punching you in the head, and their crews will be lined up by your spot. You can't even get in.
Right.
And they're trying to get the next race out, and you can't, and the officials are yelling at you. And
Well,
you run the people
because
over.
you think it's all about you.
Yeah.
Because you had an altercation.
Yep.
And the racetrack thinks it's all about them because they got fans in the stand and they want to sell the next hot dog. Which is really what the case is. I mean, ultimately that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And if they don't sell that hot dog, then they're not going to be able to give you that $225 if you win.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, the 100 and the blunderbuss.
The $100 that you win.
It might be 75, but.
I mean, there was. I remember one time I got double hooked coming off the track. I got turned sideways and got hit by I think everybody, including the pace car, and I got double hooked off the track, and the other team is piled on top of my car, yelling and screaming at me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got no tires left on the car.
Yep.
And what are they yelling at me for? I'm the one that got turned. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. You know what? Emotions run high. when you're dealing with it's a contact sport.
Yeah.
You know, it's like going out and playing hockey. It's a contact sport. It's, you know, emotions run high, and that's the way it is. And, you know, sometimes some of those guys, like you talk about, you know, it happens, and then you have a beer afterwards, or you go over to his house the next day to watch the cup race or something. But then there are some guys that they're nemesis, you know, and you got to talk. You got to talk about them because they're just that's what they are, you know.
You know, when I was the chief official out there, the guys would come in my office at the end of the night, you know, and this guy wrecked me on purpose, and he wrecked. I said, look, you know, dude, nobody comes to the racetrack normally to wreck somebody because they're going to wreck themselves. Now, there are some incidences where there's a payback from, you know, 1963 that he didn't forget about and the opportunity finally came up. But, you know, there'd be guys that every accident was on purpose. And you try to tell them it's not. And they didn't get it.
Was that like the guy that took me out the last lap because I broke his fingers the week before because he hit me? That thing? And you told me that, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, then when you start running good, because, you know, you started running real good, and somebody comes over and they protested.
I was a contender.
Yeah. They protested your fuel cell position because it had to be centered. So I gotta honor it, and I had to send guys to measure it.
Right.
And Gravel comes over, he measured it, and said, Joe, you got to come see this. I'm like, where did Chuck put this fuel cell? Oh my goodness. I go there, it was like 1/8 of an inch off center.
Yeah, it was dead on.
I'm like, so I called the guy over, he goes, what was it? I says, 1/8 of an inch. What the heck are you talking about? It's still not center.
But it was the wrong way.
Right, yeah. And then I said to the guy, so this is what you can do at the end of the night, because you wasted my time, now I'm going to waste yours. So bring your car to check and bring the big toolbox. It's funny, they never challenged another team again.
I remember once, I forget what I did. I made a change to the car, and I went to get something from Dennis, you know, the parts guy at the track.
Which was weekly.
Which was, yeah, it was all the time. But he's like, boy, I'll tell you, he goes, everybody's coming over going, what did Chuck buy this week? Something's happening because I was running really good. All of a sudden, I went from the back of the pack to the front. And they wanted to know. Everybody wanted to know.
Yeah.
I really don't remember what I did. It was a change that I made. It was nothing I bought. But.
No. You know, that's what's funny. When a guy all of a sudden starts running good, he's buying something that nobody else could get, or he's cheating.
Something.
You know, I can remember being at New Smyrna, working the World Series down there, and during Speed Weeks, and I'm sitting there with the race director, Dick Brooks, and Teddy Christopher comes in, the late Teddy Christopher, and he comes, Brooksy, Joe, you got to do something with Blewett. He's cheating. What do you mean he's cheating? How do you know he's cheating? I know he's cheating. Why? Because he beat you? Look, I'm cheating, and if he's beating me, he's cheating more. But that's what happens.
Oh, that brings us to the whole "you're the show, baby."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
They had the big meeting, and everybody had to get rid of the monoballs that they had in the car.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yes.
And everybody's kicking the rocks they're all looking down, kicking the rocks on the ground.
Yep.
And I raise my hand. I'm like, everybody out here, except for maybe 2 or 3 guys, has the monoballs. Mm-hmm. You want everybody to rip these out and put in regular bushings? Yeah. What's the difference? We're all at a level play. And the guy says to me, I'm trying to put on a show. And I say, listen, I am the show. And that's one of the things that the track promoters, they have to understand that.
Exactly.
These race car guys, you know, kudos to anybody who's ever lifted a wrench, had a race car, worked on a car. I mean, really, when you think about it, and you add, and forget about me, but just add it all up. I mean, it's not like you're getting enough money to take the green flag where if, you don't do that good, I still walked away with 100,000. Like the Cup guys. It's not going to happen.
No.
But these guys, I mean, the trailers, the trucks, the food, the people, the pit fees, they go above and beyond to come to that racetrack. And yeah, granted, I know it's like a drug. It's like crack. You got to get to the racetrack and run this car. But ultimately, as a track promoter, you got to step back. As an owner, you got to step back and go, wow. These guys are putting forth a lot of effort. Yeah. You know, and granted, I understand, there's a lot of racetracks that they don't want to hear the people complaining.
Right.
And anytime you got a couple thousand people let's say at a racetrack, you're going to have some of them that are going to complain, understandable. And you want to cut out the bad eggs, but you know what? I've always been taught in business that if you get 1 or 2 people that complain, there's 100 that feel the same way that didn't say anything. And chances are that maybe it's a gripe that, you know, you blow off anyway.
Right.
But chances are it's a gripe that might be easy to fix.
Well, you know, it's funny because you're right with that. And some promoters don't want to hear it. Some do. Some listen. Some try. Some even meet you halfway. And, you know, the Root family up at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, those people, they list of their father listened to the people. And that just filtered down to Mark, his son, who's running the place now with his wife. And Donald Honig over at the Thompson Motorsports Park, even though he gave everything to his grandsons, whatever the deal behind closed doors, I don't know. But when you went up, Donald listened to you. You might have won for a ride on the golf cart, not wondering if you're going to come back, but he would listen to you.
Right.
And the former owners at Riverhead, they didn't want to hear nothing. They just wanted to count the money. And I have Eddie Partridge and Tom Gatz and Eddie's wife Connie, you know, they're starting to listen to the people. And, you know, for how long did we say we needed the pits paved because the potholes were like breaking stuff? And he went out and did it when the season ended.
I saw that.
It's the little things like that go a long way with the competitors, you know. And it's like if you play golf, you don't want to play golf at a place that's all beat up. You want to play golf at a nice place.
And you know what? If that's the one thing that makes somebody want to come back the next week, and you did something to benefit yourself besides.
Exactly.
You know, it's a win-win situation.
It is. Before we take a break, though, I want to, you know, the racing world lost another, J.D. Gibbs. J.D. Gibbs is the son of Joe Gibbs, who owner of Joe Gibbs Racing and former coach of the Washington Redskins. J.D., he lost his life last Friday after a long battle with a degenerative neurological disease. Gibbs served as president and later co-president of Joe Gibbs Racing. And prior to joining Joe Gibbs Racing, senior management, he was an over-the-wall crew member and part-time driver, making 13 national starts from 1998 to 2000. Jason Dean Gibbs, as he was known, was born February 21st, 1969, near Los Angeles, California, as his father served as an assistant football coach for USC. Gibbs joined Joe Gibbs Racing after graduating college from William and Mary College. He ran a limited Camping World Truck Series and Xfinity car while serving as a limited associate or admin at Joe Gibbs Racing, becoming president in 1998. So that's kind of sad for Joe Gibbs and Joe Gibbs Racing. And I've met Joe Gibbs, and he's a very spiritual and religious man, and everything happens for a reason. He accepts that, and he had always, any conversation I had with him, and one of the conversations I had, you know, what went through your head when you went to the team owner of the Washington Redskins and said, I'm leaving, and a multi-time Super Bowl champ. He said, I walked out the door, I looked up to the heavens, and I said, Lord, you're going to get me through this one, because I had no idea what I was going to do. And somebody said, buy a race team. He bought a race team. So J.D. Gibbs, he's lost. He's gone up to heaven, you know, if that's what you believe.
That's a shame. He was young.
He's a young man, a visionary in the sport, a smart guy. And our prayers go out to the Joe Gibbs family and the racing community, because this one hurt. So J.D. Gibbs, rest in peace. You will be missed. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up? Oh, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, you know, Long Island lost a racing legend over the weekend, Paul Masiri, who raced at the Freeport Speedway back in the 60s and the 70s. He was one of those guys that had immaculately prepared race cars. He was a contender week in and week out. And he was the late model champion at Freeport Speedway in 1976, 77, 79, and 80. And his, well, let's put it this way. On a recent visit I had with Cookie Visconti, who is having some health issues, Cookie said that on the track, the fans thought they hated each other because they were beating and banging and trying to win it. They were the show. They were.
They're the show.
Yeah, they were the show. And
that's where I caught the bug, Freeport Speedway.
yeah, you know.
I was a little kid going there.
My first race there, well, not race, but the first time I saw a race was there in 1965. So I'm old. But, you know, Cookie was saying that he loved racing against Paul. And like I said, people thought they hated each other. But they'd go after the race and they'd have their barbecue. And then Sunday they all got together for dinner. And as John Visconti III had said, they were family. They were like family. And not only a racing family, but every weekend, and not just during racing season, they were family. And I know Cookie's quite upset over this, you know, losing a guy that he battled with on the racetrack. I mean, Masiri had 4 championships, Cookie had 1, and I believe, if not 2, maybe 3 of those championships that Paul Masiri had, Cookie was runner-up. So, you know, they had some legendary battles on the racetrack. So our prayers,
they were true competitors.
Yeah, oh yeah. Our prayers go out to the Visconti family for their loss, as well as the Masiri family, and racing, Long Island's racing. You know, we lost another one. You know,
yeah.
We lost another one, and you know that's why you got to enjoy each day.
You do. You never know.
You never know. And Monday nights are a good day, you know, time to enjoy yourself. Because you get to, you know, watch us.
That's it.
We have some fun here. We do have fun here. We really do. But anyway, you know, NASCAR. We raced under the NASCAR banner for years and years. Sometimes we wondered why. Sometimes we questioned a lot of the decisions, not only made by NASCAR, but the local racetrack. But NASCAR is... they're facing some. They not only facing. They laid off 5% of their workforce recently.
I heard that you said.
And when you
I'm helping out because when I was racing, I kept one of my NASCAR point funds checks because it was small. I think I framed it somewhere.
wow.
So I wonder if they every month they look at it and go,
You know, I remember those point fund checks, and a lot of people don't realize where that money comes from, and it comes from our entry fees.
Yeah.
and the track has to contribute 3% of the total purse paid out. And then it's broken down.
License fees.
You know,
and stuff.
oh yeah. And from 10th on, you get like 2%, 10th in points. So when you figure it out, if it's whatever the total purse is $1,000 and you race 12 times, that's 12,000 times 5%. It's like $600 divided by 20 people. So you get these little point fund checks.
It was like $15 or something like that.
But I remember as you know, on Long Island, the figure eight guys got paid a lot of money, a lot. They got paid more than late models. And I remember why, and I understand why, because when it was just the modifieds and the figure eights, the modifieds were split. ISO someone, Freeport someone, and the figure eights had 80 cars. It's the late 70s. And all the drivers that went out for the feature, because they used to park on the backstretch, come through turn 3 and 4, take the green, go into turns 1, and then 2 they headed down to the figure eight.
Right.
So the guys all parked their cars like a normal race. Flag man sitting in the stand, he's ready to give the signal, and all the drivers got out of their cars and walked to the Crown Media's office and demanded a pay increase because they were the only division there with cars, because they only had 2. And they got a big increase, and that increase grew over the years. So, a lot of the divisions were upset that the figure eights got so much money when their cars didn't cost as much. Mm. I mean, but anyway.
Well, in a way, that is kind of a concern.
Yeah. So when you look at that, NASCAR, like I said, is at least recently laid off roughly 50 employees, and they did this Friday in a move to save money. And also in an effort to save money.
I thought they did that when they locked up Brian France. And
his expense account.
His expense account's done.
Yeah, really. But there's a proposed bid to purchase International Speedway Corp, which owns a lot of the racetracks that NASCAR Top Series race at, and the venues, and they host, the national events. Now, the cuts are said to have been made in several departments and organizations, such as the competition department and business operations. Now, NASCAR has offices in Daytona Beach. They have offices in Concord, North Carolina, as well as New York City. Now, when you think about this, now, they made a bid to purchase International Speedway Corp, ISC, which is a publicly traded company, and they offered $1.9 billion, that's billion with a B, to ISC. Now, here's my question. The people on the board of directors at NASCAR and the France family are the same people that own International Speedway Corp. Isn't this like, shuffling money around?
There's something going on.
Now,
doesn't that have to pass the Security and Exchange Commission
it
or
does.
something? I mean, I know I get my dividend check from them like every 6 months or something.
Yeah.
You know how much it is, right?
Well, it's pennies, probably.
75 cents.
Yeah.
I feel bad going to the bank with it.
I sold mine years ago because I was like, there was no growth. Dividend checks were pennies. I was like, like you said, you're embarrassed to bring that check to the bank.
75 cents.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping they'll add a couple of zeros on the end of it accidentally.
But when you think about that, see, NASCAR is blaming ISC, which is themselves, for poor attendance, decline in TV ratings, no cars. Now, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of this started to happen when Brian France took over. Now, he's
coincidence?
No longer there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're talking about, in my mind, you're talking about a bigger problem. I don't know if it's Brian France per se, but when you think about it, it's, I think the whole, not racing per se, but the whole car culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of younger kids who are just not watching this stuff.
Right.
They're not the ones, crawling around on, well, they are the ones crawling around under a car in the driveway.
Right.
But the cars they're crawling around under are not the cars that we're racing.
No, they're buzz bombs.
Exactly. They're, it's a different animal altogether.
Yeah,
so they're doing
totally
different things.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that gets fixed.
No. And the problem that I see is you have people in the top now who never built them, never raced them, never wrecked them, never put them back together.
Well, they're business people.
Right. They're bean counters.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the bottom line. Now, if they got $1.9 billion to buy International Speedway Corp, why don't they take some of the money that they have in excess, because that's what it looks like, who has $1.9 billion laying around, and I'm sure it's a stock deal, whatever.
Yeah.
But filter it down, and I'm not talking about the top series, filter it down to the touring series, the weekly guys who make the tracks pay a little bit more and make the tracks do the right thing. I mean, there's a lot of tracks, they probably can't afford to do that, and I don't know, if you can't afford to do it, maybe you shouldn't be doing it, I think.
I don't know. I think, I don't know, I don't even know what the answer is. I mean, I can't even give suggestions. All I can say is that there's so many parts and pieces to it. I mean, like you said, you got so many of these buzz bombs that are out there, and these kids they're putting money into the cars. But what do? It's not a NASCAR sanctioned body. I mean, it's not like, when was the last time you had a Honda or a Jet around on a racetrack? You don't.
You don't. No.
You know, so do you open up a different division so you have those cars? Do you do road courses so these guys can bring their stuff? I mean, but then it's at a, there's just, we got blue sky. There's so many things. I just don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. And, when you look at, it used to be when we were growing up watching NASCAR, the cars on the track resembled the cars in the street. I don't know of any Toyota Camry two-door with rear-wheel drive.
No. Well, Bonnie and I were just talking about that because, I fell in love with Richard Petty because he had the Dodge, the Challenger.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a great-looking car. I like that guy. I was a little kid. I didn't know.
Yep.
I like that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, it looked like it. I mean, those were production cars. That's really what it all boiled down to. And if they're flinging those things at 200 some odd miles an hour, those guys. Yeah. So, I mean, do they kind of go back to their roots? Do you do some kind of I don't know. I don't know what you do. You take some of the Buzz Rockets and do some kind of a road course with them. Maybe bring them to a couple of events like, the Lime Rock and Watkins Glen or something.
Yeah. I was talking to a former official today about the layoffs and who we knew that lost their jobs, who should have lost their jobs, who didn't. But one name stuck out in my mind, and it was a gentleman by the name of Richard Buck, who, when he came to NASCAR, he was director of the touring series, and him and I didn't really see eye to eye. However, we had a mutual respect, I guess, for each other, and. So here's Richard Buck, and there's this guy, and he was always on his phone, always. I mean, constantly. Well, so I looked him up, and he was the director for when IRL and Indy kind of did this merge thing.
Right.
And that was his idea, and he destroyed that. So I was like, he was kind of sent away from there, and now he's with NASCAR, and he was making all these changes on modifieds. He didn't even know what a modified was, let alone what he was going through with the K&N series, which I wasn't privy to. Well, he was one of those guys that, lost his job or whatever. He wasn't even reassigned. He was just boom.
Just let go.
And on Friday, it's like.
Well, I think that's definitely a concern. I mean, again, not that that's going to fix, everything,
Yeah.
But I think that if you're going to be an official, you need to have some knowledge about the cars. You need to have raced them. You need to be able to talk intelligently about it. Yeah. I mean, an official who's never been behind the wheel of a race car is very difficult to talk to.
Right.
Because you can't explain to him what was going on, what's happening. He sees from a spectator's point of view.
Yeah.
And he can't really imagine what it would be like if he was in the car in that same position.
Right.
So all you can try to do is explain to him, but it's the same thing as explaining it to somebody who's sitting in the stands, a spectator. And you're not going to get the same response.
No.
And unfortunately, when you have somebody, the higher up you go in anything, whether it's a business or whatever it may be, I'm all for, and I believe me, I'm surrounded by bean counters all day long. You need to have somebody who has been in the trenches,
Yes.
who has done every little aspect there is to do, and the higher you get up, you know, in that corporation or in that business or in that organization, you know, he's cleaned the windows, he's cleaned the bathrooms, he's, you know, done this, he's done everything there is to do, it's been done by this person, because they need to be able to relate.
Right.
I mean, really, it's the only way, you know, and I, you know, I'm all for, you know, the bean counters thinking that they know what they're talking about, but a lot of times when they're sitting there and putting things down on paper, that's something that's very static. There's no dynamic to that.
No.
You know, and you could spend all that time putting it down on paper, and then all of a sudden one thing happens, and now you forget about, you know, all right, save the 2 rolls of toilet paper.
Right.
Now you just lost $1 million.
Exactly.
You know, and it's one of those things. It's, you know, unfortunately, where schooling is not necessarily the end all and be all.
Right. You know, and I worked my way through UPS, and even the CEOs of UPS started out unloading trailers. Now, I only did that for a day. And then my job after that, believe it or not, was the trucks at the time could not go out with a scratch on the bumpers or the ICC bumper in the back. So my job was to walk around with a cart that had paint. It was called UPS International Brown. It was a patented paint color. And my job was just paint over the scratches at 2 o'clock in the morning. I did that for a few days.
With a flashlight.
Yeah. Then I loaded trailers. I sorted. I drove. I did pickups. I did deliveries. And then I went into management. And then when I was going to the next level of management, I had to go do operational work. I had to be a route supervisor. I had to be a midnight supervisor. I had to be a 3 in the morning supervisor. And now you've done everything, literally. Now you're ready for the next level. And that didn't happen at NASCAR over the last 5 years or so when Brian France came in. He got rid of good, knowledgeable people who brought it to where it was and hired his buddies.
Well, that does happen. And sometimes the growth of an organization happens so quickly that you can't find people who have spent that much time in the trenches in order to bring them up.
Right, exactly.
You know, so sometimes that does happen, and yeah, it'd be great if that was a success story for everybody.
Yeah, well, that doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work, and that's the sad part, because NASCAR, as we remember it, and some of the older people remember it, it's not the NASCAR of today. Like somebody just put in the chat room, back in the day, you'd have a Dale Earnhardt Sr., the late Dale Earnhardt Sr., go to the local tracks and take a car out and race, like we did with Bruce Edwards with the late model at Stafford. These drivers don't want to do that. Yeah, they'll go race the dirt stuff for Tony Stewart over at his place, but they're really not. Some will go run the Chili Bowl, but in some of those instances, it's because the car owner that they're driving for has a car there, and they made a deal with the promoter. Hey, bring your guy here. Here's some money, make it happen. So I don't know. Is NASCAR in trouble? I think so. I don't think they're in trouble financially, but bigger companies than NASCAR went down the tubes that appeared to be solid.
Yeah, I mean, don't rely on what I have to say. I really don't know what the fix is for it. I think about it and my head starts to hurt because there's so much to think about. And then I say, you know what, I got so much to think about on my own.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I hope they have a plan, as a master plan there. It's not looking good.
Right.
I'm kind of concerned about that. Yeah. But it's true what you say. I mean, I think most people know I own a music store, so I mean, I had, and there's no point not giving you the name, but I'll tell you, Fender guitars. We had purchased Fender guitars. We were a dealer, and we had gotten 85 guitars. Pretty nice, not bad. I was pretty impressed. I stayed away from them for years because I wasn't really happy with the quality. I know everybody thinks it's a name and it's great and all that out. But anyway, we got the next shipment. I got these 5 guitars, same model, different colors, and they were terrible. They were atrocious. So you could feel the frets. They were actually cutting your fingers when you tried to play the guitar. Your fingers would all be cut up. And a guy comes in. rep is here, and I said to him, I said, try one of those guitars. Feel those frets, they're terrible. He goes, I don't know how to play.
You think you
To him, it was a SKU number. He's like, they're not going to take those back from you. He says, get a file and file them down, fix them. But that's their attitude.
It is.
And we had one guy, which, you know, the famous quote was, you know, he was actually the Gibson rep. And he used to be the Jiffy peanut butter salesman. He used to sell Jiffy peanut butter to the supermarkets. And he's now the Gibson rep.
Very good. Yeah.
Never played guitars, but he told Barney, he said, I could put my name on a pile of crap. Didn't use that, he used the S word, and people will buy it. And that's their feeling. And
yeah.
And now you see what happened with Gibson, right? They filed for bankruptcy in bad shape.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Anyway, well,
unbelievable. So I hope that they got a master plan.
I do too. You know, and it would be sad if they didn't, because I don't believe there are racers in the upper echelons of NASCAR anymore. And I can remember going to meetings down in Daytona, down in Concord, and when I was told one day, you're starting to sound like a race car owner. I said, I'm trying to sound like a businessman who's trying to help grow our sport. And it's kind of funny, I didn't get invited to too many more meetings after that.
Yeah, I would think.
Imagine that.
Yeah, but you know, you would think that, especially with NASCAR, that, you know, always had the guy who, you know, Brett Bodine, he was driving the pace car. You know, you always got somebody who's some sort of a driver or somebody who was involved with the sport.
Right.
You know, and
rumor has it he lost his job too.
Brett?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not right. That's, I don't feel that that's
No.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Anyway.
You know, because you think that those guys, the knowledge is just.
Oh yeah, the knowledge is there, and I don't always agree totally with them, but they're making decisions based on sound business sense and their experience. So you got to respect that, you know, even though you don't agree. So anyway, hey, guess who turned 60 recently? Mark Martin.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was older than that.
Oh, did you? I think we have a picture of him in his younger days when he was driving ASA. Look at that guy. He was a young kid there, and this is him recently. Wow.
Wow.
Now, Mark Martin got out of racing primarily because he had a back injury over the years, getting worse and worse, and he had his fixed up. And I was following him in the garage at probably Bristol. And his legs were like here, and his upper body was up here. It was like shifted
over,
moved up.
Wow.
And he kind of walked like he was on a balancing beam. So that's why he got out of racing. But you know, he came up through the ranks, and this guy, he put it on the line as a young guy when he was in ASA and some of the other support series.
Yeah.
When he was driving for himself,
he always gave 110%.
110%.
Always.
To the point where he lost his home, and everything he owned was auctioned off right in front of him to pay his racing debts. He had nowhere to live. I think he was able to save his car, so he had something to drive, and he worked his way back. Because, you know, he had desire, he had heart, and he ended up driving for Jack Roush for years with the Valvoline logo.
Yeah.
And you know what? These are the guys that
The
helped
Viagra
build
car?
Huh?
You got to remember the Viagra car.
That was at the end of Viagra car, man. Anyway.
Yeah, we parked next to Mark when we were down in Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte, all right.
Yeah, when I was down there with my crew chief, and we were taking out a sportsman car. We parked next to Mark in the camper area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was him, and who was the other guy? Metal Company.
Anyway, happy birthday, Mark.
Morgan Shepherd.
Oh, Morgan.
They were all like,
he's like 80 years
old. They
old.
were all like rafted up.
Yeah.
He looked like he was 80 then.
Yeah.
You know, I was a younger guy then. I had some hair.
Yeah.
So to me, those guys are older guys. You know,
Was that when you had
look
long
good.
hair? I remember when you were
Nah, I
young.
don't know if it was that long back then.
It was like, to hear.
I did. I'm a rock and roller, I did what I had to do, and then, Mother Nature had different ideas.
Yeah, we never have what we want,
Yeah.
Anyway.
You can't always get what you want.
No, please. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll talk about some NASCAR news and some things that are going on in the world of racing when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey, some NASCAR news that we got going on. Oscar Mayer, we all remember Oscar Mayer, hot dogs, bologna and all that.
The Wieners.
And the Wienermobile,
The Wienermobile.
Well, they will debut as a 2019 sponsor of the number 6 car of Ryan Newman in the Daytona 500, which is in about 30 days, so that's pretty good. The race will mark Newman's debut with Roush Fenway Racing, so that's kind of good. And we have some driver changes. It's kind of interesting that, we just talked about Ryan Newman. He'll be in the 6 from Richard Childress Racing to Roush. The 1 car, Kurt Busch, will be in the 1 car at Chip Ganassi. Daniel Hemrick, former modified driver and truck driver, to Richard Childress, renumbered the number 8 in honor of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And the 19 will go to Martin Truex Jr. He moves to Joe Gibbs. The 32 of Corey LaJoie at Go Fast Racing. Matt Tifft to be in the 36 Front Row Motorsports. Daniel Suarez in the 41 at Stewart Haas Racing, replacing Kurt Busch. And we have Ryan Preece driving car number 47, a Northeast modified driver who had some Xfinity rides and some Cup rides last year. He's going to JTG Dougherty. And he is a rookie contender in that series. That means a lot. The 95 would be Matt D. Benedetto, the Levine family of racing. And we have Trevor Barry. Berry Hill. I can't say that 3 times fast. He's going to the 97 with help from Joe Gibbs Racing. And it's called Abaka, I think I said that right, racing, and he will go full-time in 2019 after 3 starts in 2018. So a lot of changes, and some of these names don't ring a bell to me. It's not like years ago.
There's some new kids. You're missing the number 52 there.
Man, number 52.
Take the green flag and park it racing?
Yeah, last time I saw the 52.
It was that close.
That close.
Take the green flag and park it. Green flag flies. Take the green flag and park it.
And that one time I was on the ramp and you couldn't even look at me under caution.
Because you were bad luck. That's it. You were deemed bad luck. Because every time you gave me the whole little bit thing, I was like, that's it. I'm not going to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there was always something stupid.
Yeah. That's all right.
That car was good. It was really nice. I would radio in, and I'm like, is there a caution now? Why is everybody going so slow?
Wow.
How sad was that?
Yeah.
I'd come in, and I'd check the, you come in, you check the memory tach. It's normally around 7,200 RPM. Come in, I check the memory tach. It's like 5,500.
Wow.
And I'm passing people.
There you go.
And I'm like, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. And I can remember.
And that was a Jack Merkel motor, too.
Wow, Jack Mercer,
was
he
great.
passed last year.
I know he did.
Yeah,
He passed. I talked to Scott a couple months back. Yeah, and yeah, Jack was a great guy. Really,
He was a
really
great
liked
guy.
Jack. He was awesome. He helped me out a lot.
You know, and I can remember when I was with Tony Urbina helping him out, and Tony had some engine issues, and he was using McBeth's at the time, and McBeth's was nowhere to be found at the racetrack, and I had some dealings with Jack Mercer. And I said to Tony, I said, Jack Merkel's here. He goes, I don't know if he'll help me. I didn't buy one. I said, Jack Merkel's the type of guy, if you need help, he'll help you. And he did.
Yeah.
And the next motor Tony bought was a Merkel motor. That's the type of guy Jack was. You know? But yeah, it's...
Yeah, I was driving, and doing a whole... Matter of fact, it was that car. It was doing a 5,500 RPM thing. Yeah. And he comes down and he goes, how come you're not tacking that thing out? What's the story here? He heard it.
Yeah.
I hear it. He heard it. Let me see that motor.
I always had I never had a new motor except for my daughter. My daughter had the best of everything. Not me. I had hand-me-downs. I had the only 5-cylinder, 6-cylinder for a while. I had the only 7-cylinder, 8-cylinder.
Well, I didn't have a choice. I was leading the consi with 1 lap to go. I come out of turn 4, and the motor didn't step on the pedal, and nothing happened.
Nothing happened. That's usually not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Now, we tried to refreshen the motor ourselves, but that didn't work out well.
Yeah.
So, I had no choice, and pretty much to get a motor, at the beginning of the season was an impossibility.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to Jack, and I was like, listen, keep in mind, I just paid off, a $6,000 Charger car with payments every week.
Yep.
I only had 1 set of tires. So I'll never forget. I had 1 set of tires. I actually had the tires that came with the car. This is when they paved the track, okay? They paved the track and they went to an 8-inch tire.
Yep.
So here I am, I got 7-inch tires because that's all I got with the purchase of the car.
Yeah.
So I'm in the line to go out, and the guy's like, you can't go out with these tires. Like, but that's all I got. He goes, no, we're on 8-inch tires. You can't race these 7-inch tires anymore. So I couldn't race the first race.
Yeah.
So I saved up some money. Some people gave me some money. I bought a set of tires and a set of rims. I go out. I get a flat. I come in, and there's my girlfriend at the time, Bonnie. She's got a rim in one hand and a tire in the other. She spent all her money that she had from working to buy me a tire and a rim, and she's running around going, who puts these together? Where do I go? And Dennis from the speed shop comes running over because he knows it's just me and the wife, right? Comes running over to help us change a tire, and he grabs the air gun and says to the wife, give me a tire. He goes, we don't have any spare tires. We couldn't afford them.
And then look what happened. You get some nice sponsors, you had some nice money. And I used to get your takeoffs.
Yeah.
Because you only put a certain amount of laps on them.
That was it.
So your left sides were like brand new. And I had to make lefts and rights, so your left sides are awesome.
Well, I'm a businessman, so as time started to go on, and we talked about this at the break, as time started to go on, the last couple of years I raced, I actually, even with the damages and everything else, I actually made money racing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had some big sponsors I would show up. I had WBAB and WRCN, and they were money sponsors. They weren't just on the car for the hell of it. They were, paying people. And I did well. We used to buy 50, 60 tires at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'd send her over there with a whole van. She'd come back with a whole van full of tires.
Unbelievable. I did that in '94. I had a big tire sponsor, so I go and I buy a season's worth of tires. 4 weeks into the season, they changed the tires from McQuarrie, which is American Racer, to Hoosier.
No.
So I go to Bill Bryce, who's the official at the time, the head guy. Why is this not discussed? I have like 4 tires for every night,
Yeah.
and we're only like 4 races in. What do I do with them? Because use them in practice. Why would I use them? Don't you use them in practice to get your setup?
Right.
Why would I use tires?
Exactly.
So we sat in my shop, and then I'm pretty good at, like, you know, circumventing certain things, you know.
Get the grinder out and you grind the name of it.
That's what I did. And I
That's
went to law school, so I said, well, you know what? Nobody will know. So I grind off McQuarrie.
You put that on the inside.
And then I took remember the Hoosier decals? Well, they were straight, so I had to cut every letter and
curve it.
And I made a stencil, and I just took my white paint, and if you look at videos of me racing in 1994, my Hoosier was on the tire in a gloss white, and everybody else was like a dull white. And nobody ever said nothing.
You can't see the car, but you can see the Hoosier logo going down the street.
Oh, I had so much fun. Just like when they changed the clutch rule mid-season. The V8s had to have a stock clutch pressure plate flywheel weighing, with the nuts and bolts, 32 pounds.
Yeah.
I just bought a Quartermaster for like $800.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm like, what am I going to do? So we're sitting back at the shop. We're like, wait a minute. Nothing in this rules addendum says it has to be functional. Just says all cars must be equipped. Again, being a law student, my car's going to be equipped to one. So I had a 25-pound weight under the firewall at the chassis rail. I took the weight off, bolted up the clutch, press brake, flywheel. The head isn't running past it. I come in like 11th. Go to tech. I finished 11th. Go to tech. Okay, so off to tech I go. I pull in there. The late Walter Bonzak says, what are you doing here? He says, they told me to come here. Bill Bryce comes down. I want to see that clutch. Okay. So my guy crawls underneath, goes through the motions like he's taking the clutch out. Drive shaft comes down, all that kind of good stuff.
And pulls out the clutch.
And he unbolts the one on the chassis rail at the firewall.
That's cold.
And he's holding it with the gloves and stuff because it's
Because it's hot, yeah.
Because it's hot.
Right.
And Bryce says, I could have sworn you still had the Quartermaster. I said, no, I don't. We pushed the car back, put it in the trailer.
And left.
And left. Anyway.
Those are the days.
Yeah. Hey, Barney Visser. Barney Visser was owner of Front Row Motorsports, who shut down a year after winning the championship. And at the last race at Las Vegas, he walked around saying goodbye to everybody, and because he had announced September 4th that he was done, and it was like a shockwave. He just won the championship. He won millions and millions of dollars.
He couldn't sell it to somebody.
No, well, Visser, he thanked his fans in the speech recently, and even though, like I said, he won the Cup title in 2017 with Martin Truex Jr., he could not get sponsorship to continue.
Really?
That's sad. There he is, and with Truex, he had Bass Pro Shops coming on board. It just wasn't enough. And when is NASCAR going to realize that they're putting these teams out of business with all the rule changes and the things they have to have, and they're working on pneumatic jacks now, like Indy has.
Yeah.
Because there's too many people on pit road.
Too many people on pit road.
I'm like,
you know what? Take the sport right out of the racing.
Yeah. He sold his charter. In fact, one of the people here in Facebook Live is saying he sold his charter for $5.5 million. And you know what? He took his $5.5 million and poof, off he went. Now, you just won the championship. You have decent sponsorship, and you got to pull out. And
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong with that picture.
That should not happen.
And I'm not talking 10 years ago champion. I'm talking like a season and a half ago champion.
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't want to go into his personal pocket to go racing like the old timers did, like the Pettys and the Allisons, and Richard Petty still eats bologna sandwiches in the pits because you never knows where his next dollar is going to come
save money. But you know what? If you just won the championship, how do you? That's like shooting fish in a barrel for sponsors.
Right. Exactly. I don't get it.
I would have had everybody and their brother on that car.
And they should have been going to him, and especially where Truex comes from, with his background and his father with the tugboats and all that kind of stuff. The Truex family didn't know anybody up north here that, hey, this would be a good opportunity. I'm a champion. Didn't happen.
Couldn't even jump in half and half partners or something, or.
And I wonder how many teams are out there with these big logos on their cars are even getting anything.
I don't know. You know what? I wasn't a front runner. I won a race, a couple of consies, heat races, things like that, but one feature race.
Right.
But for the most part, I always had good sponsors on my car.
You did, yeah.
I mean, it was like a big thing. It was like a thing. Every time I came to the track, it was like, all right, what is he? Who's he got now?
Oh yeah.
But that was a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To me, it was, I wanted to get people on there that were giving me something.
Right.
And if I put somebody on there who wasn't giving me a lot, they would know that, if somebody else comes along with more money, they're off the car, somebody else is going on the car.
Yeah. I mean, somebody in the chat room is saying that, and I heard this too, I don't know how true it is, that Joe Gibbs was supplying him parts and whatever, and that he doubled the price for what he gave. Now, you know what? You won the championship with Joe Gibbs stuff, and there's a lot of politics behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't thank him the right way at the banquet. And then Joe Gibbs doesn't strike me as that type of guy. He's a Christian man who will help anybody. Now, I'm sure if this team would have went to Joe Gibbs and says, listen, we got to pull out. We
need some help or something. What do you think? Can you give me some advice?
Yeah, lead me in the right direction. Because Joe Gibbs he's a pretty bright guy, and he has some top-notch sponsors from day one of Joe Gibbs Racing starting. So it's kind of scary that these teams are folding up. They can't even get full fields at a majority of the races, and when you see that, that's a problem. And I was just going through a book that I have about NASCAR and the tracks and the cars. 70 cars, and I'm talking in the 50s and the 60s, would show up, and they'd start 43. In the beginning, they started whoever showed up.
Well,
There's no time to qualify all those cars.
Makes sense.
It's kind of interesting.
Well, I think we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It went quick.
Yeah. We just got the singer, right? We
got the finger.
We got the finger. Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
anyway, Chuck,
we got the finger.
Welcome.
1 minute,
Welcome.
1 minute to go.
This is fun, Yeah. Usually I have a guest co-host once in a while, and the guy that comes the furthest, Roger Roxy, is
the guy that comes the most.
The guy that comes the most, coming all the way from upstate.
9,000 hours through hell and high water.
And goes home.
And then goes home. Yeah, I'm going home afterwards.
There's a slice of pizza and he leaves.
And he leaves, right, exactly.
Anyway, we had fun tonight. It was good.
Yeah, it was great. We had fun.
It was good, and I want to thank everybody for their input tonight in the chat room, Facebook Live, and again, and you guys are great, and so wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this week, please be safe, please be careful, and have a good week. I will not be here next week. I am going to be away, a much-needed vacation, so pray for me.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
So keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up.
There you go. And that's what we try to do. All right. God bless you all, and God bless WJ. Good night, everybody.